Hey guys, welcome to part 15 of my best 23 for each club for the upcoming 2026 season. I'm going to try and put together a best 23 considering everyone's healthy at the doggies. I'll give you a bit more analysis and a bit of just an overview of how they went last year. Let's get stuck into it. Get me in the corner here. Starting off at full back, I've gone with James O'Donnell, former cricketer, was initially a Category B sign-on. He's not an international player, but did come from another pathway through cricket. They did get 22 games out of him last season. 23 years old, is entering into his prime. You can see here he's got some bronze badges, which indicates he's in the top 50 in the league in some aspects. Okay, so for instance, spoils 4.9 per game. That puts him in the top 33 in the league. He wins 2 one-on-one contests in the defensive 50. That puts him in the top 48. 5.1 1%ers, which ranks him at 41. Okay, so pretty good player. Starting to develop nicely for the doggies. The doggies are going to need a bit of help in the defensive half. I found their defensive side a lot harder to name than their forwards and mids. They're stacked in the forwards and mids. Defense is going to be a bit of an issue for them going forward, I think. Here we got Bramble as the back pocket, 27 years old, initially a train-on SSP player as well. He gets 17 touches a game, so he does get his hands on the ball a bit. Puts a bit of defensive pressure on, 5.6, 7.2 rating points. No real elite traits like O'Donnell that stack up against the rest of the competition, but still a handy contributor. 321 meters gained as well. Probably wants to start pushing up and winning a bit more one-on-one contests, although at his height, that's not really... They're kind of a midfielder in the back line kind of role. Okay, and here we've got a fella called Bailey Dale, reasonably handy player, pick 45 in the 2014 national draft. You can see he's got some gold traits, 19.7 kicks, puts him in the top 10 in the league. He's actually fourth. Let's have a quick look who is in front of him here. So Bailey Dale, you can see here, he's tied with Bailey Smith at 19.7 per game, and only Naz and Zorko are ahead of him. So he gets a fair amount of kicks. Pretty handy player, 27 touches a game. He's getting a little bit older, 29, so they've probably got another 3-4 years out of him. He's signed until 2029. That'll take him to 32 years old. His rating points also puts him in the top 50. That's 29th ranked in the league. And he gets 545 meters gained, which ranks him number 8 as well. So he does his part. He gets plenty of the ball. I think he can get 40-odd touches on his day when he wants to. He has got his All-Australian jacket as well, as you can see here. Zoom out a touch, 2021 and 2025. Okay, so there's your back line for the doggies, in my opinion. Probably want to get a little bit more out of Bramble. O'Donnell's developing nicely. We'll go centre-half back. Rory Lobb. You can see here he's come across from initially drafted at GWS, had a stint at the Dockers, and now he's found his way over at the Kennel. Also, some elite traits here. He's 33 years old. They got 23 games out of him. His next game is going to be his 200th. Pick 29 in the 2013 national draft. Time on ground, spends plenty of time. He's not really involved in the rotations. 7.11%ers, which puts him in the top 10. 6.2 spoils. He is a lanky bugger, 207 centimeters, and he's also got those long limbs on top of that, which is going to make an overhead mark on him pretty tough. It puts him 10th in the league with 6.2 spoils, and he wins 2.3 one-on-one contests. You can see here. Let's have a look at his quick draft just quickly. 2013. So these guys have all been in the league 12 years plus. You can see here. There he is, pick 29. This was initially a Josh Kelly, Bontempelli, Charlie Cameron. They're the early draft picks of that particular class. So you can see that's actually quite a hit. Last year being Carl Amon still in the league. Everyone's played about 180 plus games. All right, so there's your main spot. Well, your centre half back and your back line. I've gone with Freya. I don't know how to say his name. It's either Freya, Fraser, however you want to say it. I'm just saying it how it's bloody spelt. 20 years old, developing into almost like a Bont, really. 19 touches. I think that'll bump up to the mid-20s this year, as long as he gets more midfield time. Developing along nicely. Pick 45 of the 23 national draft. You can see his rating points are right up. He's not really a defender. He's more of a midfielder. But as I said before, doggies are really lacking proper defender, halfback flankers. I thought I kind of had a spare spot for him, and I didn't squeeze him into their initial starting defensive lineup, so I've thrown him in as half-back flanker. I think he can play that role for him, just roaming around the back line let the Bonts and all that of the world rest a bit more up forward when needed, or on the bench, of course. 6.3 score involvements. All these numbers can bump up a little bit as he gets more time in the guts. And I've gone with Cleary. Cleary played a bit of back pocket as well. 16 games last season, 191 centimetres. I've got a tall backline. I'll show you that in a moment. 13 touches a game. He did kick 2 goals, about 80% time on ground. I expect most players to end up with about 85 time on ground with no sub-affected players anymore. Okay, 2.1 spoils, wins 1.5 defensive contests, and 5.2 for defensive pressure. We'll have a quick look as an overview of this defense. Okay, so you got one player under 21. Let's zoom out, sorry. You got one player under 21, that's Fraser. 2 players in the younger years of their prime. These guys are going to develop nicely and be key pieces that Bevo is going to want to build around. 2 guys in the older age group of their prime, and 1 fella holding on. Lob's 33. His contract at the end of next year, that's going to take him to 34. I would say that could very well be his last contract. If he does get any more after that, it'll be 1-year prove-it deals. 2 guys out of contract this year. You'd think Joel would be the priority. Get him locked away, especially with the lure of Tassie Devils coming in, want to throw some money around. Okay, you got 3 players out of contract in 2027, and Dale is contracted until 2029. Okay, none of these players were top 10 picks in their respective drafts. Lob was the highest pick at pick 29. That was a draft I just showed you. A few of the other guys came after 50. That's Cleary. And then you got 2 other players that came on as category B sign-ons and train on SSP. So they added bonuses. Not really the top end talent of their year group initially, but the Dogs are finding a way to get something out of them, which is good. Okay, athletic profile actually quite high, 192 centimetres. The league average is about 188. Rory Lobb's obviously going to bring that up a fair bit, being 207 centimetres. You got 3 guys who could all play the key defensive role if they wanted to, and then 2 of the smaller midfield size. Okay, let's move into the wingers. All right, so for first wing, I've gone with Treloar. You can see here, this is his journey. He started off at GWS. I think he played 4 or 5 seasons, then spent another 4 or 5 at the Pies. Kicked that awesome ball to Jeremy McGovern to give the Eagles that premiership. That was awesome. Didn't really play much time on ground, 59.5%. That'll bump up, providing he can get his body healthy. 10.3 rating points, is an all-Australian caliber player. You can see here he's got his jacket. I think it was the year before last. Yep. He's out of contract end of this year. He is getting on. He's 32 years old. He's starting to get those soft tissue injuries as well. He did get 21 touches. He's usually good for about 24, 25. Always one of those handy fantasy players to have if you got him in your team and if you can stomach the older boys. Pretty good player for a winger. And then on the other wing, I've gone with Davidson. This guy came out of nowhere last year. 19 games, 190 centimetres, runs all day. He showed quite a lot in the pre-season and then carried it through to the actual season itself, which was great. 16 touches a game, 2.7 tackles. He did chip in with 13 goals, about 300 metres gained and 8.9 rating points. I expect all those numbers to get a slight bump, I think. He will start finding better running patterns and finding the ball a little bit more as well. Okay, so there's your wingers and your backline at the moment. I hope you can see it clearly. Next, we're going to move into the engine room. This is where the Dogs really shine. Arguably the best midfield in the comp. Tim English, all-Australian caliber players. You can see he's got his jacket. What year was that? Sorry, 2023. You can see he's got gold traits. Ignore that. He did play games last year. I'll have to fix that. 30.3 hit-outs, ranks him 9th, 6.1 marks. He does chip in around the back 50 as well. 28 years old. He's contracted for another 3 years. That'll take him through to 31. Okay, his hit-out percentage also puts him in the top 50, and 12 rating points is very good for a ruckman. All right, he's going to be rucking to some fella by the name of Marcus Bontempelli. You've probably never heard of him. Pretty average player. No, he's comfortably the best player in the comp. Superstar. 27.1 touches per game, 14.1 kicks, 12.9 and 5.4 tackles. This guy does everything well. puts his teammates in better positions. When he wants to chip in for a goal, he can do that. You can see here 19.8 ranking points, clearly number one in the comp, 2.4 centre clearances, and 500 metres gained per game. Okay, he is 30. That's pretty much the only knock on him. He can still carry on at this level for another 4 or 5 years pretty comfortably. You'd think his career would follow along the lines of a Pendlebury. As long as he's playing football like he is, you're not going to push him out the door. I just want to have a quick look, just see how far in front the rest of the comp he is. So Ed Richards is actually the second-ranked player according to this rating system, with Tristan Xerri at 17.5, Anderson and Rao. Okay. Bont's often discussed in the same breath as Nick Dacos as one of the better players in the comp. He's only racking up 15.6 in this particular ratings. Okay. This fella ranked 2. Pretty good year for him last year. He's 26, 4 years younger than Bont. As you can see, more elite traits, 188 centimetres. They got 23 games out of him. They only got 18. I think Bont injured his leg at the start of the season, so it took him a while to get going. 25.8 touches, a few less than Bont, and then same amount of goals. Well, 1 extra goal. He did play 5 extra games. 19 rating points makes him second best player in the comp. I wouldn't put him that high up myself. Maybe top 20 to 30 I'd feel comfortable with. But in whatever, type of possessions that he's accumulating, that obviously bodes well for this rating system. Okay, so clearances is 5.7 and centre clearances is 2.5. So that's crucial. You got 2 of the best centre clearance players right there, rucking under an All-Australian ruckman. It's a pretty good recipe. And then you got another fella, Tom Liberatore, father, son of Tony. I think he's a Brownlow medal winner, about 86, 87-ish. I'm just guessing there. Might have been the early 90s potentially. 26.4 touches. For those who remember Tony Liberatore, one thing I do recall about him was he came back from an ACL after like 4 or 5 weeks. It was ridiculous. When you see everyone else with an ACL, they get knocked out for a year. His dad just came back that quickly. It was insane. 3.2 centre clearances, that ranks him 3. So all 3 of these are at least I think it was top 20 in the centre clearances. Yeah, so Ed Richards is 12th in the league. Lib is 3rd and Bont's 17. And they're all rucking underneath, crumbing underneath All-Australian ruckman. So arguably the best, centre 4 in the comp. You'd be tough pressed to find a better midfield than that. Okay, so there's your current lineup. We'll have a quick review again. Let's go up to the top. Ignore the possessions. That won't matter until we get a full team together. One player under 21, 3 players under 25, over 21. Okay, you got a further 4 in the older age bracket of the prime years, and then you got 4 older boys hanging on. That is a little bit of concern. 3 of them in the midfield as your starting midfield. Bevo is going to want to get a premiership out of this mob pretty quickly. You'd think in the next 2-3 years. So they're going to be going up against Brizzy and Gold Coast and Freo for that premiership this year next. So other than that, you kind of worry that Bont might have missed his chance a little bit. He obviously got one back in the day, but yeah. They want to act soon. Centre half forward, Aaron Norton. I believe he may be an Australian. No, he hasn't got a jacket yet. Picked 9 in the 2017 national draft, 26 years old. Again, more elite traits. He ended up 6th in the Coleman with 60 goals, 2.9 marks inside the 50. If the ball's not going to Sam Darcy, it's going to Aaron Norton. Those boys just dominate in the air. 1.4 marks on the lead, 2.9 marks inside the forward 50, and he wins 3 one-on-one contests per game, which is elite. All these, you can see here, top 20, top 10, and top 50 badges sitting next to his name, all on the forward line. 10.2 rating points. I've gone with Riley Sanders, another early draft pick. Pick 6 at the national draft. We'll see how he's tracking as opposed to everyone else. You can see here he's played arguably more games than all these 3 in front of him. Zane Dersman's barely getting a game. Jed Walters sitting behind King. And then you got Sanders there. This is McKercher and Harley Reid just in front of him with Watson, who's played a few extra finals. Okay. 12.7 handballs per game. He's getting his possessions up. I think he's going to be pushing mid-20s pretty soon, if not next year. 77.5% time on ground. Would want to try and get his tackles inside the forward 50. So I think him and Fraser will be the next man up when Bontempelli and Libbo and that start to move on, that the doggies start to build around. Kennedy, another elite player coming in from GWS. Another early draft pick 13 in the 2015 national draft. They got 23 games out of him. He always chips in with a couple of goals, it feels like, and then 23 touches a game, 5.1 tackles, puts that pressure on the opposition ball carrier. 13-point rating points, puts him in the top 50 players in the game. Number, 43. And 4.9 clearances. So they got plenty of clearance players as well. Okay, there's your overall team. I was surprised to see that Norton and Kennedy don't have any All-Australian jackets just yet. Those are the doggies All-Australian players as of now. Okay, next we've got another fella you may not have heard of, Sam Darcy, Gigantor, 208 centimetres, 45 games into his career. Arguably the best player in the comp, depending on what you value. If you value midfielders or key forwards, this guy's got the potential just to take the game apart at any moment. 48 goals, six marks a game, puts him in the top 50 in the league. These are proper marks. These aren't the chip kicks that you find defenders getting in the back half. He's usually got two guys hanging off him that just can't do anything about it. 14.9 rating points, puts him in 21, just outside a silver badge. 3.4 one-on-one contest. That's where his value is. The defenders just can't go with him. He's too tall, too big, too agile. 2.9 marks inside the forward 50. 7.7 score involvements. Just a key pillar that you want in your team. Father son to Luke Darcy. You can see here, where are we? Score involvements. There he is. You can see Bont and Richards always chipping in there and their bit as well, which is the sign of a good play. You can see here with Richards that's probably a good indicator of where those rating points are getting accumulated. So there's that. I don't think he's got his All-Australian jacket. No, he hasn't either. I would have thought he would have been last year, but no. Cody Waitman, 179 centimetres, does get a bit of stick for dropping the knees and doing that type of crafty stuff, I guess you want to call it, that small forwards do. But when he's going, and he'll chip in with 2-3 goals per game. Perfect type of player to crumb under Darcy and Norton. They're going to want him back pretty soon. I believe he was added to the leadership group. They had about 20 players added to their leadership group the other week. Waitman was one of them, despite barely playing the last 2 years. 76 games. But yeah, definitely deserves a spot in the starting 18, in my opinion. Okay, and then Riley West, son of Scotty West. Scotty West accumulated a few best and fairest back in the day, a few All-Australians, 39 goals, which is in the top 50, just outside the top 20, actually. I didn't actually realise that. 22nd in the league in the Coleman, and that's the big one. 1.7 tackles inside the forward 50. Those are like gold. So you can see here, he's sixth in the league for that, and 6.3 score involvements puts him in the top 42. So there's your starting 18. I hope you guys can see that pretty clearly. I've tried to zoom in and clear it up for you as best I can. We'll have a quick look at the makeup. Okay, so 2 guys under 21. That's Fraser and Sanders. 6 guys in the younger years of their prime: O'Donnell, Cleary, Davidson, West, Darcy, and Waitman. 6 guys in the older years of their prime. That's Kennedy, Norton, Richards, English, Bramble, and Dale. And 4 old boys hanging on: Lobb, Treloar, Liberatore, and Bont. Okay, you got 7 guys that have played over 150 games. You got no one that's played under 10. You got 6 that have played under 50. So plenty of upside there as well. As soon as they start feeling more established, they've already played about 2 seasons worth of games, these lots. So yeah, I expect a fair bit of improvement out of the doggies. 6 of the starting 18 are out of contract this year. These are going to be the priority. Treloar and Libba is going to be health related, as long as they can start staying healthy and just show that their body's ready to go around again. They'll get signed, no worries. Sanders is an issue for Tassie Lurkin. So is Fraser. I imagine they would be the priority. Excuse me. 4 players in the top 10, taken in the top 10 of their draft. Darcy was a father's son, but Doggy still had to cough up a bit to get him. Norton pick 9 of the 2017 national draft. I wouldn't mind having a quick look at that. Let's have a quick look there. You can see that's arguably one of the best picks of that draft. Brayshaw and Rayner have also played about 170 games, as well as Norton. Chera has played a few less. LDU, Hunter Clark, Paddy Dow, and Nick Caulfield. Not so lucky. Okay. 15 of the players went at the national draft. Okay. 1 SSP player, 1 Category B, and Trelaw was a underage signing for GWS when they started to come into the league. Okay, that was back in 2012. You got 3 father sons, which is a lot more than the league average. The league average is 1.6, so they have been blessed by golden nutsacks a bit. No academy players. You got 3 players over 200 centimetres. All of these guys could chip in for ruck help. English has got pretty good gas tank for a ruckman anyway. You don't see Darcy or Lobb really chipping in with too many ruck taps. It's usually English doing the job himself. 6 guys who could play key position roles if needed, and then 8 smaller midfield types with the 1 small forward type. Okay. All right, let's have a look at who we got for the bench. First up, I've gone with Bailey Williams. Very unlucky. I couldn't really find a spot with him on the field. The only real spot I was weighing up was Fraser's halfback flank role. It's one or the other. They're really a starting caliber midfielder. 6.3 marks per game, 19.7 touches. He gets his 10.2 rating points. Chips in with 350 metres gained. Very good player. Very established. 23 games last season. Jordan Croft, this guy had played a few games last season and was brilliant. Another giant, 201 centimetres, son of Matthew Croft, pick 15 of the national draft. You can see here, got some gold traits out of the 2 games he did play. That was the marks inside 50. Took some absolute beauties as well, actually. Ranks him first in the league. Again, that's a really small sample of 2 games, so I wouldn't expect that to stay like that. We'll have a look at the other players in that category. Gunston's second with 3.3, Jeremy Cameron 3.2, Georgiades and Hogan. They're all just big key forwards. In saying that, Croft is 201 centimetres tall, so he's probably taller than a lot of them anyway, and Norton there at 2.9. All right, and then so he's basically the sub for should Darcy or Norton get injured or need to come off, whatever reason. Garcia had a pretty good season last year, I thought. 8 games, 39 into his career, 14 touches. I thought he would have had more goals than that. But this was a big one. Tackles inside the forward 50 is a stat that I really rate. So if you can do that for your team, you're going to go away to getting into the starting lineup. 64.9 time on ground, that will come up as well with no sub. Okay, Caulfield, early draft pick from the Saints back in the day. Pick 8 of the 2017 national draft, only 64 games. As I showed you before, he's probably missed about 4 or 5 seasons worth of football to this point. 6.8 marks, 12.8 touches. Does get his intercepts as well, so he can play. You know, you could swap him with Cleary or Fraser or something like that, but didn't find his way onto the field in this makeup just yet. And then I've gone with McNeil, pick 11 of the 2020 rookie draft. He's out of contract this year. 9.2 possessions per game, 6.1 rating points. Again, not much time on ground there, so that'll bump up. But yeah, he was another maybe a half-forward flanker. Not really a walk-up start, probably pretty lucky, if anything. But, that's who I've gone with. Next, we'll go with the list makeup. Okay, best 23 filter is on. Just want to compare this to the rest of the league. Remember, Waitman's going to be contributing zeros, so doggies would be a bit lower in some respects due to Waitman not contributing anything, but he will next year. 381.6 disposals per game as opposed to the league average of 343. So they've got elite midfielders that can get their hands on the ball and plenty of them. 17.7 goals per game as opposed to 11.9. Okay, so that's Darcy and Norton doing the lion's share of that. 56.1 tackles, a little bit less than the league average. Again, you'd think Waitman might contribute more than 1 tackle a game. Lot more marks per game than every other team, 94.5 as opposed to 85.2. Again, that's going to be Darcy and Norton, players like that. Even Bond chips in with his fair share. Hit outs 30.3 is about average. League average is 30.8. And then the clearances are miles in front of everyone else. They've got all those elite clearance players that I went through earlier. 3 players under 21, another 8, so 11 under 25. Okay, these are all guys that are going to be at the doggies for another 5-6 years, you would hope. 8 guys into their older years of their prime, and then 4 old boys hanging on. Okay, experience tells you pretty much the same story. You've only got 1 player under 10. That's Croft, and he did show a bit in his 2 games, so I thought let's throw him in there. Okay, you got 8 players that have played over 150 games, and then everyone else is falling between that 10 to 100 bracket. Okay, so probably got another, say, 100 to 150 games out of them. 9 players out of contract this year, so this is a big concern for the list manager. He's going to want to lock up as many of these as he can. Okay, the most longer tenured player is Norton. He's signed through to 2032, and Richards is signed through to 2030. Darcy, I can't imagine a world where Darcy ever does leave the Dogs. It will be like a Lance Franklin to Sydney kind of deal, 10 years for $1 gazillion, if that ever does happen. But he's contracted to 2029. 5 players in top 10 of each of their draft. Okay, Caulfield's probably the biggest underperformer out of the lot, you would think. 3 players have got outside the top of the first 50 picks, which is pretty impressive. 19 out of the 23 players were considered the best players in their younger draft year. You could say Treloar would fall into that category as well because GWS got the early access to him. Okay, so McNeil, McDonald, and Bramble, the only ones that have come on late. 4 father sons, which is way ahead of the league average. League average is 1.1, but no academy players, which is less than league average of 1.2. You got 2 short fellas playing the small forward roles. You got 4 guys that can play a ruck role if need be. You got 8 players that can play key position, and you got 9 smaller midfielders. Okay, so there's your best 23 in my opinion. McNeil's probably the one I would think about booting first. I'll show you who we got as the emergencies. Next man up. Vandermeer played pretty well, 19 games. He's the guy that's lost his spot to Waitman in this list makeup, 13 goals. I thought he would have kicked a bit more than that out of the 19 games. 64.3 time on ground, 6.1 rating points. Would want to bump up that tackle inside the forward 50. That would get him on the field a bit more, I reckon. Buderick from the Suns, pick 16 of the 2019 national draft. Comes across, again, a small fella, 175 centimetres. Is entering his prime years at 24 years old. 6 goals, 12 touches last year. Okay, rating points are pretty low, wants to bump that up. Same with tackles inside the forward 50, 2.9 score involvements. Suns and the Doggies probably roughly the same part of the ladder. And then Gallagher, 5 games last season, 22 years old, 11 touches, 4 rating points. Again, time on ground's been affected by sub time as well. That will go up. You'd think most players are between 80 and 85%. 5.6 defensive half pressure. Maybe swap him in for Gallagher. Could easily swap with McNeil, something like that. I'd have no issue with that. Okay, so there's your team. Only 1 player that's been brought in from outside this year. That's Buderick. And then we will bring in the primary list, the Category A rookie and Category B rookie. Carmichael is the first draft pick that the Doggies took this year, pick 21 in the national draft. Okay. And then we've got Louis Emmett, 18 years old, another potential ruckman, pick 27 in the national draft. And Sam Darcy's younger brother, Will Darcy, I think he was the last pick of the draft, pick 60. 196 centimetres. I believe he is more of a defender type player. Won't really make a call on any of these guys just yet. We'll let them find their way onto the footy field and show us what they've got. Lockie Jacks, no games yet. 184 centimetres. No games out of him last season. Does want to start finding his way onto the field, or he's going to be looking for a job out of contract end of this year. Okay, Cooper Hines, 8 games last season, early draft pick 20 of the, I think that was the Harley Reid draft, 2024. No, sorry, that was the Sam Lawler draft. You can see that's pretty standard. Where was he? I've gone back to it. Oh, Hines, there he is. So played a few games in the peaks in front of him. You can see Ollie Hannaford, Will Green, Josh Smiley, and Jagger Smith all haven't played as many games as him. So he's got a little bit of a start to his career. 6.2 touches. Again, just these numbers are all sub-affected. So 53.2. All these numbers would come up, in line with when the time on grounds ended up being 80. Lockie Smith, no games out of him last season. Another beanpole giant, over 200 centimetres. Dolan, 11 games out of him last season. Another short dude. So they've either got players over 200 centimetres or under 180 centimetres. Is a pretty common trend with this team. 7.8 possessions, a lot more than other teams is what I'm trying to say. 62.2 percent time on ground. Harms is Gonzo. Initially came across from Melbourne, retired started this week. Let's just put him in the retirement basket. There he is there. So that's freed up a spot. They're going to have an extra SSP spot. I'll show you how many they've got already. Jed Buslinger, another early draft pick, key defender, 7 games out of him last season, 10 touches. He was pretty unlucky as well. Another one I thought about swapping with McNeil. 64% time on ground, 4.2 rating points. All these numbers would come up, as I said, when he gets actual time on the field. Oscar Baker, again, another one, more of a flanker, back pocket. 15.3 touches, 1 goal for the season, 1.4 spoils, and 2.9 1%ers. Excuse me. Okay, so next we got the Category B A rookies. Zach Walker. These are players that were not taken in the national draft, but the rookie draft of their particular year. As you can see here, pick 12 of last year's mid-season rookie. Didn't get a game out of him. Zach Walker. Ryan Gardner came across from Geelong once upon a time. Yep. So he was a mid-season rookie in 2019. He's actually probably more likely on a primary list, having spent 5 years on an AFL list at this point. But I've just listed them based on where I think they would fall as far as the list makeup and how the list manager's looking at him. Defensive half pressure, 14, which puts him second. 3.7 rating points. I dare say that is a outlier due to having played 1 game. Okay, so you can kind of ignore that a little bit. In saying that, he did have a good 1 game. Probably another one I'd look at bringing onto the bench or emergency, just see how he fits in the doggies makeup. But yeah, they didn't get any continuity out of him, where McNeil played a full 21 games. Michael Selwood, another mid-season rookie, didn't get any games out of him. Luke Kennedy, a national draft pick from 2024. He's actually probably more on the primary list too. Again, 0 games. Arthur Jones, 4 games out of him last season. He's an academy player, pick 43 of the 2021 national draft. Wouldn't read into the clangers and turnovers. I need to tweak them for higher possession getters. Also out of contract this season. And then you can see here, there's a free roster spot. So you got 2, you got Harms and a free one there. And then we've got Buku Kamas, 41 games, another good defender. Oh, well, he played all over the show, actually, but he did play forward as well. 13 goals last season. No turnovers, 2.91 percenters. Won a few defensive one-on-one contests as well. Puts a bit of defensive pressure on and wins his one-on-one contest. So he gets thrown around all over the joint. Okay, and then you got your second Category B2 roster spot. Okay, so as you can see here, you got your full 23. You got your extra 3 bench spots, your emergency spots, which brings you to 26. You got another 10 on your prime list, is 36. 4 rookie A players and 1 Category B. So that's 41 players. Each club should get 44. So the doggies have got three spots to fill before the season starts. Harms a spot and 2 rookie spots, in my opinion. Okay, so unless I've missed someone, you guys could let me know in the comments. That would be greatly appreciated. I thought they'd have more roster spots taken up by now. Let's have a quick look at the list overall. Okay, so as you can see if they've got depth as opposed to other teams. So 472, because no one's going to go through the full season uninjured. You're going to get belted with injuries with everyone. Happens every year. 47.2 disposals per player across the 44-man list, which is a little bit more than the league average. 20 goals, much more than the league average. less tackles than the league average. 120 marks is more than the league average, 30.3. That's kind of swayed by these other beanpoles racking up zeros. I think they're pretty well stocked with 200 centimeter players. I'll get into that in a moment. And 49.3 clearances. They got better clearance players than the rest of the league average. You've got 13 players under 21. As you can see, most of these guys have just not found their way onto the starting lineup just yet. That's pretty standard. Get a few more off seasons into them. That'll happen. 13 guys in the younger years of their prime. These are the guys that want to get a wriggle on, start finding their way onto the field. Karmas, Jones, and Selwood before the club starts thinking about delisting him and bringing in a new rookie. Okay, 11 players on the older side of the prime footy years. Gardner, as we saw, had a pretty good one game. He could easily find his way into the starting lineup. Okay, and then where are we? And you got 4 old boys all starting and hanging on. 8 players have played over 150, and you got 11 players under 10 games, Croft being the only one that's found his way into the best 23 as of yet. 20 players out of contract for this season, so these guys will want to start training the house down, start getting an extension. These guys on the field will start looking at the Tassie Devils soon enough, so you'd think Sanders and Fraser would be the priority for the Doggies. Sign on, and longest tenured player is Aaron Norton, up to 2032. Sorry. Your superstars, Bont, he's contracted to 29. Ed Richards at 2030, and Libba this year. Okay. 7 players in the top 10 of their respective drafts. Not all of these are going to be national drafts. As you can see, Selwood is a mid-season rookie, and so is Gardner. Okay. National draft players are 32. So most of the list has been comprised of players that they've taken in the national drafts. 5 players the rookie, 1 SSP player, 1 other, which is Trelaw from the GWS concessions, and 2 Category B sign-ons. You got 5 father-sons, which is much more than the league average of 1.6. Will Darcy is obviously just a new rookie this year. 3 academy players. Buderick is from the Gold Coast Academy, not the Doggies Academy. Karmas is the Dogs Academy. Who was that third one? Sorry. And Jones was from a Dogs Academy as well. Okay, you got 4 guys playing the small forward role, or small back pocket if you wanted. Waitman, Garcia, Buderick, Dolan. In my opinion, Waitman's a better player of the 4, so I've got him on the field with Garcia subbing him out. You got 6 boys, 6 beanpoles out of the 44. 4 of them actually in the team. Lobb and Darcy are kind of set in their forward and back roles with English, and Croft can maybe sub him out if he put a bit of beef on in the off season. Okay, and then you got 14 boys playing who can play the key roles if need be, and then smaller midfield roles here. Okay, that's the overall list. We'll go into some club details and look at some depth charts. As you can see here, Tim English is your starting ruckman if he was to get injured. Your next most tenured player is Darcy. You wouldn't look at him. He's a forward. Jordan Cross played 2 games. All these other beanpoles have not played any. Rory Lobb's 199 games, but again, he's got that centre-half back role. Okay, these are your key forwards. Jordan Croft's the next man up should Darcy or Norton go down. If key backs go up, Caulfield's your next biggest, or Ryan Gardner. Probably Gardner would be the replacement for Rory Lobb or O'Donnell should he go down. Buslinger also is just waiting there. He was an early top 10 draft pick. They'll want to start getting games into him. So it's just a pick out of Gardner and Buslinger. Okay, small forwards. Riley West is starting. Vandermeer is a bit unlucky not to be on the field. And Buderick's probably next man up considering they traded for him. Okay. You can see here, these are your players that like laying your tackles. All the superstars of the game. Libba, Bont's doing it. Kennedy has his fair share. Okay. All right. What else can I show you? Okay. So we've got the draft pick analysis as well of how the team is comprised. You can see here on the x-axis, I've got each year group, and on the y-axis, how early those draft picks were. I just want to show you the national draft. It's usually the one that everyone looks forward to throughout the year. Okay. So you can see here your early draft pick was Bont, obviously a hit. Another early one, Sam Darcy, obviously a hit. And Sanders is the next man up. They just want to keep him away from Tassie Devils. Norton's another hit, early draft pick. Ed Richards, another draft pick. So you can see when the Doggies do get their early draft picks, they do pretty well with them. Lib is one of the old boys. never going to miss. Son of a Brownlow medalist. Plays similar, not too dissimilar to his dad. Remember his dad giving Benny Cousins a hard time back in the day. And then you got the three new boys here. You got Lockie Carmichael, Louis Emmett, Will Darcy. Will Darcy obviously slipped, having been a father-son. Every team knew they couldn't even pick him because the dogs were always going to match that pick. Okay, next we'll go AFL wide. We'll compare everyone as opposed to the other teams. Here's the doggies here. Where are we? Sorry, doggies, 7th oldest list. Best 23, they're 8th oldest, so middle of the pack, really. Average games shows pretty much the same thing. They got 0 players under 20, which is the least in the entire comp, and 3 players over 30, which makes them 10th. Again, middle of the comp. Contract cliffs for your best 23, 9 players out of contract this year. You can see that's a lot more than every other team. Gold Coast have also got 9, and so did Port. And you got 1 player signed on to 2032. What else can I show you? That's pretty much what I'll give you guys today. Got a few other random stats I've thrown in here. You can see the pathway boost and how the doggies have been assisted by the 2 different pathways, either father, son, or academy. You can see them here. They're the 3rd most, as opposed to Gold Coast and Sydney. Comprises of 19% of their list. You can see teams like Essendon have only got 1 academy player. That's in their best 23, as opposed to the full 44 as well. You've got 8 players that's been affected. Okay. Here I've got common first names. Jack's the most common name in the comp, followed by Sam, Tom, and Harry. And that is pretty much it. Thank you very much for checking out the video. If you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe, support the channel. And we try and put out a bit more footy content throughout the season. And yeah, appreciate any support. Cheers, guys.